Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
I'm back out here at Giga Texas. In my last video I said that this might be my last flight for a while, as I was getting ready to go down to Starbase for flight 9 of the Starship, but that has now been delayed a little. It's going to be after Memorial Day, so I'll be flying the rest of this week here at Giga Texas, and then we'll see what that schedule looks like next week. Now, as far as here at Giga Texas, it's a kind of cloudy, a little bit of rain and windy day to fly, but otherwise everything is gearing back up. I saw a lot of production starting up early on this Monday morning, and many of those Model Ys and even Cybertrucks driving autonomously over to the outbound lot. So production is going full swing this week, so that's a great sign, I think. As far as a few other things that we'll see here in the video, I want to point out is first, over on that southwest corner of the extension, they are now finishing out that opening, and it looks like it's going to be one large receiving door and maybe a small set of doors for people to be able to go in and out. Otherwise, it's not really going to be a grand entrance or anything else of what we were thinking in the past, and the way they're framing it up, it looks like it's going to be some sort of a solid wall rather than glass around that whole area. So interesting development with that. Over on the east side, we see a lot more of those temporary trailers that have been delivered over to that east parking lot. They're getting ready to relocate all of the original temporary offices that Tesla's been using for new employee orientation, the welcome center, security, and a bunch of other of the temporary offices. They're being relocated over into these new trailers on the east side, so the old trailers can be removed for additional construction on that north end. Speaking of construction on that north end, the Cortex 2 facility is continuing to be assembled. More steel is arriving, and the cranes are busy erecting all of that steel on the north end. It looks like it's closing in on 3/4 of the main structure being assembled, so that is definitely moving along really quickly. And the last thing on that north end for construction I just want to point out is next to the electrical switch yard, pretty much all that grade work is completed now. That will allow them to be able to do the expansion of the electrical switch yard, which will double it in size and overall capacity. The only thing that's remaining that they need to remove before construction can begin is those original low-level power lines. And once those are gone, they can get rid of the little islands around those power poles, and then they can prepare that grade for construction. So otherwise, there's a lot more going on today, so we'll get into the video and we'll take a flight around and see what Giga Texas looks like. And as always, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. So let's get the drone in the air and fly around Giga Texas.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, we'll start today on the east side, looking to the south, and of course the main factory is off to the right. In the bottom of the screen, not only do we see the temporary material staging yard on the left, but also that lot where they have sometimes stored vehicles. Right in the middle of the screen, we see some employee cars getting charged up, but not a lot of activity over there today. We get a lot of employees parking their cars in the east parking lot, getting ready for work as it's early on Monday, and more are arriving at the bottom of the screen, parking in the garage. Now, speaking of which, we see those kind of privacy fences have not been moved, and really no activity to speak of now in that parking garage other than just vehicles being parked for the employees, as far as I can tell. On this side, looking at the WW Glass Company supplies and their workshops on the left, of course, the original pond that has been retained, at least to this point in time, and this clearing where we see some new of those steel corrugated pipes being laid out, and this is part of an underground water management system, so they are preparing to do more work on that around this part of the factory. As we get closer to the southeast corner, we can tell that that trench work is continuing. They have kind of dividers around it now, so that's going to be there for a little bit of time, and they are working in that center section right where those couple workers are. Maybe it's just a drive path. This is what that cooling system looks like on the ground, and it looks like they are doing some more work on the southeast corner next to the road, maybe some more paving. And the temporary platform is not being operational right now, at least as far as moving material in, but all along the entire east side, we can now see many of those temporary platforms as they continue to maneuver and bring in equipment onto that newly built up mezzanine and third floor over the body in white. As I maneuver around the power lines and look back down at this temporary platform, this is a nice just overall bird's eye view of what this area appears like today. I'm going to pass over this parapet wall, bring the drone down, and we'll fly around the south side and the cyber pond, and I want to show you what's going on the southwest side where they're preparing that entrance for enclosure. So I've been watching to see what they would do with this opening, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be glass or not, but with these steel studs and the beams and how they're installing everything, it just looks like it's going to be a large receiving door and smaller pedestrian doors on the right, and then probably just some sort of solid finishing, so probably not glass at all. So that's different than I was expecting, but that's what it appears like today, and I'll show you what that looks like once they are completed. This entrance and drive path looks like it's mostly completed now, all cleaned up, and if we take a quick look inside, we can tell that most of the equipment and some of the other items, such as the porta potties, have all been moved out, so it looks like it's pretty much completed. Speaking of which, the glass line and the connections here are virtually completed. There's just that one blank panel above that receiving door. Otherwise, it looks like all of the glass is in, and this is how they are doing that joining between the original glass line and the new glass line on that extension. So anyway, that's a good look here at the south side of the building. I wanted to fly up to the north, and what we're seeing is Model Ys driving autonomously over to the outbound lot. We'll periodically see more exiting the factory just north of that west main entrance. For some reason, the flags were at half staff today. I'm not exactly sure why, but maybe they were doing some maintenance on the flags, maybe because it was so windy and they brought them down. Or maybe there's just some other explanation. But by the time I finished flying and started heading home, the flags were put up to full staff. So I'm not sure, again, why that is happening. Here we see where a couple of vehicles have exited out. These are being driven by humans. Those are probably just being used for some of the processes that they're doing. It's not necessarily meaning that they're not being driven autonomously. In fact, we will see a lot of that here later in the video. Up at this platform, we see some steel items being prepared to be moved off the yard truck and up onto that second floor. In addition to that, they're bringing up some equipment onto that second floor as well. So not only are they building out the facility, but they're adding more equipment to continue with that work. So pretty cool to know that they're continuing to expand the production capability there. On the berm, we see the work continuing with the trenching and installation of all the pipes. They are now getting very close to the flagpole, so they're working their way to the south, and that will go all the way along this berm and the newly paved highway. to that south area where there's a caisson, and I will show you some of that work here in a moment. But looking across the highway, this is what that outbound lot and the end of line looks like today. Many of the vehicles that were there on my Friday video have been shipped off, which is the standard practice that they are doing now, where transportation takes place through the weekend, even though production has stopped. As we come back down towards this southwest corner, this is where they are doing that trench work. There's trench boxes, and there's also some sheet piles that have been installed near this area. And I believe this is what's going to connect into that berm work and trenching that we saw just north of the flagpoles. But here's a quick look at what I was just talking about and how deep this excavation is. And it's very close to the caisson, but probably not related to it. But this is just something I'm going to continue to monitor, and we'll see how all of this comes together. So I'm going to bring the drone up, and we're going to cross over the highway, and we'll resume on the other side. This is a nice view across the highway to where we were with that trenching, and today this is what the caisson and the concrete segments look like, and there's continuing to be work done at the bottom of the caisson to push those segments through the bore that goes underneath the Colorado River and connects to the next caisson. And so my next video, I'll give you closer views of that. But I wanted to come back over to the far southwest corner of this material staging yard where I noticed a bunch of activity. There's a lot of steel being delivered today. We'll see that with a front end loader or a forklift moving some of that around. Over by the transformers, it looks like the crane is positioned, and also more steel items and this temporary structures trailer and truck. So perhaps that's related to some sort of a temporary structure that's going to be added in. As I mentioned, here's more of those very large steel items with the size of the forklift or the front end loader, or whatever would be the appropriate name for that. I know that some of my viewers would want to have that correct name, but anyway, it gives you a good sense of scale as they are moving those steel items around. The excavation work in the upper left-hand side of the screen, there's not really a lot of activity today. So instead, I thought I would turn back and fly across where those transformers are and some of these other steel items, go over the power lines and take a look at this very active material staging yard. And one of the things that I did notice at the center of the screen is that there is work where there are a number of superchargers and parts for the superchargers. And you'll see that here at the bottom of the screen, over on the right-hand side of the screen, and the yard truck that is maneuvering some of those cabinets that are related to the superchargers. And in addition to that, in the top of the screen in the center, and we'll get a closer view of that, there's even more of the mobile superchargers. So a lot of activity with this today. And I did see this truck maneuvering over on the east side of the site, so we'll see where these may be headed and what they are doing. But as I pull away, not only do we see where those superchargers are, a lot of the equipment here in the silver and blue wrapping for the 4680 cell portion of the factory, and also the brown wrapped stamping presses. This is where we have 4 of these mobile superchargers. And it'll be just curious to see if they're going to be using those for maybe Memorial Day weekend, or if there's some other use for them here at Giga Texas. As we fly to the north, I wanted to show you the current situation with all of these transformers. Again, they are doing a lot of acquisition of transformers and staging them here. And this may be related to more of the data center build out and the need for power to support all of the computational energy that is required for the AI training. As I mentioned earlier, the outbound lot is mostly empty. A lot of transport activity took place over the weekend. More is underway this morning. And now with production ramped back up, they are starting to fill up the outbound lot, and we'll see that throughout the rest of the week. But this is a good view of some of the various vehicles, a mix of Model Ys and Cybertrucks of all variants on this side of the site. As we pass over the supercharger tents, get a good sense of the activity this morning with preparing the vehicles for that transport operation. Some of them are exiting the south end of the end of the line after processing. And then here are these 4 lanes where the vehicles drive autonomously over to this point, and then the human drivers take them inside for that final processing in the end of the line facility. Now, while I was here, I did notice that there was a group of Model Ys headed towards this location, and I thought I would give you a closer view of how that operation works. That you can see the human drivers getting in at this point, and up until here, the cars autonomously drive. And here is a group of Model Ys doing just that. A nice view at this altitude to watch the work coming in. On the right, that white Model Y is an older one, and that's some of the employees that are driving through that area. But here's another Model Y driving autonomously over to the end of line facility. If you remember on my Friday video, this area was completely full of Cybertrucks. Almost all of them have been moved off-site. So pretty neat to see how much that has changed in just 48 hours. Now I'm going to fly to the north along this central roadway, and I want to just to get a quick look at what was going on with these workshops for welding, also the VAPCO units and the supporting hardware and some of the crates that the hardware is in. And on just to the north, we see more of the steel items being stored. Really, honestly, not a lot of change through this particular location. I did also want to check on this construction site to see what has changed. It's still in that kind of L shape with the gravel on the top of it. And you can tell by Tesla Road, there's those kind of parking bumpers strips. And that's usually meant for equipment storage and or vehicle storage. I'm going to continue to watch this, and we'll see what this actually means and what will be happening with this construction site over the coming weeks and months. So anyway, that's the current situation here on the west side. And I'm going to come back over towards the highway, a good view of the main factory, some transport trucks at the bottom of the screen. I decided instead, because of the clouds and the lighting, that I would fly along the west side looking to the east across the highway, give you a nice view and vantage point of the north part of Giga Texas, where we see those 2 Megapack sites, the electrical switch yard that's getting ready to be doubled in size, the entire construction zone over towards the battery cathode plant. On the north end is that relocated concrete batch plant and that roadway that has been added on the right hand side for access to this batch plant. And as I maneuver the drone around, start looking back towards the southeast, just a good idea and view of where everything is located today and how that entire construction site is continuing to make progress. And we'll get closer views of that Cortex 2 facility in the middle of the screen. At the bottom middle of the screen is where they have finished up most of that grade work. They just have to remove those power poles and the little islands, and then they can start that work to extend the electrical switch yard into that section that is being prepared, and it'll be doubling it in size. We also see this new roadway that is connecting the road that goes near the Megapack 1 and over to the electrical switch yard, and I expect that to be paved soon. And of course, Megapack 2 that is being assembled. And as I pull away, this is a nice view of all of these various systems in one screen and how it all looks here today. Now I'm going to cross over the power lines again, and I'll bring the drone down. On the right hand side of the screen is all of those temporary trailers and offices that are being relocated, and we'll see how that works later. On the left hand side of the screen, looks like they're preparing a roadway, and in the center screen we see a lot of the crews getting ready to start with more of the wiring. We see some of that orange wires between the transformers and the Megapacks, and that work is continuing. On the north end, we see this kind of a component or electrical cabinet box that has been added onto this platform. And we'll see how the wiring continues. I think it's going to be connected into the wires that go along that center cable tray that we see between the transformers. And currently, I don't see a lot of or any of the cables in that section. Now, as I bring the drone back up and look back towards that Cortex 2 facility, I wanted to first show you a closer view of this section where they will be expanding the electrical switch yard. And this is what it looks like. Of course, those little islands with the poles are going to be removed here soon. And some people have asked, why don't they put the switchyard on the other side? Wouldn't that make a lot of sense? Well, it may or may not have, but this is where they have decided to do that. And the outline of that new switchyard is starting to take shape as well. Now, next to the filled in with water, that water detention pond, which kind of gives you an idea of how much rain we've had. We see here at the north end of the Cortex 2 more steel being delivered. The cranes are busy sorting into where those pieces need to go and where they're going to be attached to those footings. And of course, the perimeter grade beam has already had most of the fill dirt backfilled in around it. As you can tell, it kind of forms the base of what will be the future walls, and also gives us the overall shape of the building. And then here is a nice view of some more of the steel workers or iron workers preparing to install more of these beams. I've zoomed in quite a bit so you can get a good idea of what this looks like, and also some of the scale of the size of these beams relative to the workers. These are very heavy and very large beams. So this roof is going to be quite substantial, and the whole structure itself, even though it's one floor, is going to have a lot of structural strength to it based on that material. As I bring the drone down in between the die shop on the left and the new Cortex building on the right, you can get a good view here of the Keystone trailer. Some of the items that are around here, I believe those are parts of forms that they would use for concrete. And they're preparing for some future work with that. As I bring the drone down even lower, I wanted to show you some close-in views of the perimeter grade beam, the columns that are attached to that beam, what the structure looks like inside. And as you can tell, there's no ground slab yet. I expect them to do a lot of the utility works and trenching around this section, and then they will put in the slab once that all work is completed. But anyway, a nice low-end view of what it looks like inside the Cortex 2 structure. Now, the trailers that you see here as we're flying right over are those old original temporary trailers that have been here for quite some time. These are the new trailers, and they're being positioned and getting ready for the change of operations from those old trailers to these trailers. And that will then allow those old trailers to be moved away for more of that construction. Aries is the company that is providing the temporary structures, these trailers, and I suppose that those are also the company that is placing these and preparing them for operation. As we cross over this road looking down, we can see some more of those concrete vault items waiting for their chance to be used in that construction site. And then here, as we get close to the die shop, I'll look off to the east. Down at the bottom of the screen is where Tesla Road will eventually be expanded and drive through this entire section. And that'll require a little bit more work with changing some of these power poles and some of the other work around here for that expansion. We do see that there's some landscaping being done now around the trees, at least it looks like, with that small bobcat. And of course, more of the steel corrugated pipe being stored here for future water management system installation. I did notice also that the excavator and the bulldozer here are continuing to work on this expansion or section of the water detention and filtration pond. And this is what that work looks like today. And in addition to that, we're very close to the crash test facility, looking in on the south end. And this is what it appears like today. Don't see any activity on the inside, at least from this vantage point. But on the kind of center left-hand side of the screen is all of these vehicles that have had crash testing completed. And it looks like there may be some other vehicles preparing for crash testing right up against that Quonset type roof of that crash test facility. I'm going to fly around on the northeast side just to take a look at what the activity is up here today, and we'll resume here momentarily. From this vantage point, a great view of the overall construction and the development of that Cortex 2, where it is next to the die shop and the battery cathode plant. So what I'm going to do now is fly back over to the main factory. And we'll do that by flying over the East Warehouse on Wheels and a lot of these shops and equipment and trailers on the bottom of the screen. The reason why I want to get back here is that there is another development near the south part of the casting machine structure, and directly ahead that we can see on that exterior wall next to those two tower structures for the power lines is this new opening. Last time we saw them preparing to remove that concrete panel above the window line. This is what it looks like today. They have plastic on the inside to help control the environment to some degree. But I believe that this is going to be for another temporary platform, and this will allow them to access this part of the site and put more equipment inside this part of the building. This now brings to a total of, I think, 6 temporary platforms along the east side. Now I'll keep the zoom in as we fly to the north, just looking at the number of castings, the racks for the castings, the baghouse filtration plant, and of course the melt center, and what it looks like today. They were doing a lot of work preparing more of the aluminum to be melted down, and that is helping them recycle and just basically vertically integrate the aluminum manufacturing, or at least the mix that they need for the right composition to be able to make more castings. And that gives Tesla advantage because they can do it all here without having to do any logistics or transportation of that aluminum. So that will bring to a close the view today here on this Monday. And I hope that you enjoyed what we were able to see and talk about throughout the video. As always, I very much appreciate your support and watching along with this adventure that I've been on for almost 5 years. So with that, I would just say thank you very much, and I hope you have a great week. Take care.